Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the DVC San Ramon Campus College Information Night. I'm one of your co-hosts for the evening. My name is Glenn Scott. I'm a math faculty here at the San Ramon campus. What you're looking at on your screen, if you look at the bottom picture, that is the San Ramon campus, or rather it was. There's construction underway right now, and there is going to be a brand new building. If you drive by campus, you can see that today. It's the outside is up. You can't go inside yet, but we're looking forward to that when we return to campus and stop doing these virtual things. My co-host for the evening is
Ed Cruz, and I'm also a math faculty here at the San Ramon campus. And I'd like to start off by saying welcome everybody, and we're really excited to have you here, and we're excited that you came by to find out more about the San Ramon campus. Oh, I also wanted to remind you, some people have already asked, this session will be recorded, and we'll be posting the recording on the San Ramon website. And in addition to that, folks who registered, which is everybody here, when you submitted your email, you'll be getting a link, an email with links to more resources and more information about the San Ramon campus.
So here's the big question. Why take classes from the DVC San Ramon campus? Especially right now, what is the DVC San Ramon campus? Well, it's closed for now, more or less. But there is a culture at DVC San Ramon campus. There's a DVC San Ramon state of mind. And the SRC state of mind is one that is very small campus oriented, where everyone knows everyone else, where we are able to take the time as faculty to get to know our students and to get to know the other faculty in a way that doesn't necessarily happen on a bigger campus.
I'd like to build on that, Glenn. Yeah, sorry about that.
The thing about the DVC San Ramon campus is we've been able to get most of our faculty trained in the appropriate way to use technology as we are in this distance learning environment. And so most of our faculty have been trained and certified at this point to do this. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, Glenn, I'd like to add to that. This is actually my second year teaching at the San Ramon campus. I've been in the district for over 20 years. And one of the things that really stood out was how close-knit the faculty and staff are at the San Ramon campus. And I think that's something that students who take our classes, they get the benefit from that, because we have these connections and we can walk to each other's offices and walk people to counseling, well, virtually now, but we have these connections that students can take advantage of. Now, one thing that we want to emphasize in our session today is that one of the primary benefits of taking classes here at the San Ramon campus is that you'll be able to complete the first part of your bachelor's degree. Now, this means you'll be able to take classes that cover the first 2 years of your general education for whatever major you decide upon. And once you finish those 2 years of classes, you'll be able to pick and choose the different campuses that you might want to end up at, whether it's a UC system or the CSU system, or maybe even a private college.
You know, Ed, I actually was a student at DVC. I attended the Pleasant Hill campus a long time ago. And I can tell you that that transfer process works really well. I was able to transfer smoothly from DVC Pleasant Hill to San Francisco State University. If we can go to the next slide, please. One of the big advantages about taking classes at DVC and SRC and community colleges in general is we have small class sizes. Our average class sizes are between 25 and 35 students. Some classes might have as many as 40 students. But if you go to a four-year school, particularly the UCs, very often your first 2 years in a UC, you're taking classes with 200, 300, 400, 500 students. And you don't get to know the teachers. You might get to know the TA that is involved with you. You don't even get to know the other students that well. When the class is that big, in person, you know the few people that sit around you, and that's it. But in these smaller classes, we can hear from other students, we can hear from the faculty, you can hear each other and see each other, assuming you have your camera on. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, and Another benefit is the cost. I remember when I went to a UC, that was where I went for my undergraduate. At that time, and as Glenn mentioned, it's probably a very long time ago, it was only $800 a semester. Look at those prices now. I have 2 teens in high school, and I am very much thinking about how much I'm gonna be able to afford to help them out if I can. So pound for pound, unit per unit, this is one of the best values for your investment into your education and into your future. At $46 per unit, and you're looking at about $1,400 per year for a full year of really wonderful education.
And as I mentioned earlier, I attended DVC. That was one of the primary things that brought me to DVC as a student. I had the grades to go to other schools, certainly if I wanted to, but I chose DVC not only because of the price per unit compared to tuition elsewhere, but also it's closer to home. So I didn't have to pay for the expenses of finding an apartment or something like that. I was able to live with my parents while I attended school. But there's an even better deal today. If this is your first time as a college student and you are taking a full course load, so a full course load means 12 units or more, then you can actually get free tuition for your first 2 years at DVC. And if you transfer in 2 years, that means your entire time at DVC would be free. Now, there is an application process for this, so you will have to fill that out. But there is no test of income level. There is no FAFSA test or any of that kind of stuff. If you're a first-time full-time student, you will get the tuition. You'll notice on screen that there are some exceptions in terms of full-time. If you've taken classes as a high school student concurrently at DVC, that doesn't count towards your first time. So your first time is now when you start taking classes as a non-high school student.
Now, what's it like when you take classes at the San Ramon campus and you transfer? And one of the questions that students ask me is, am I considered, what's the process like? And I know that for many of you who are high school students, and especially seniors, you can probably feel that pressure. It's October or it's November now, but applications have been due and you're going through this whole application process to get to those colleges. But if you apply as a transfer student, you're actually put into a different system. For one, even though the standardized tests are going through this change right now as far as what's being accepted and not, in general, as a transfer student, you don't have to take the SAT or the ACT. Of course, your GPA is going to be different because now your GPA is going to be based on your college classes. And because of that, because college classes typically are much more difficult than high school students, the GPA requirements are going to be different. And we're going to see a little bit of information about that later on. Now, one of the biggest bonuses is that as a transfer student, we actually transfer more students than to the UCs and the CSUs than compared to the rate of transfer or students coming straight out of high school. So here you can see that. I took a look at some of the numbers. We transferred about 1,000 people last year. And out of that 1,000 people, half of those people went to Cal or to Davis. So about 500 people went to Cal or Davis. We roughly about the same amount went to the CSUs, and out of those 1,000 people, about 500 went to East Bay or to San Francisco State University. So DVC and the San Ramon campus, we have an excellent track record of preparing you for transfer and, more importantly, for success when you transfer.
In that same vein, as we talk about transfer, you'll notice that the transfer application, they ask for your GPA. And if you were applying straight out of high school, the average GPA to get into UC Berkeley is between 4.27 and 4.62. Where I went to high school, the maximum you could get was 4.0. That's all we had. So probably wouldn't be considered. And yet transferring from a community college, it's between a 3.71 and a 4.0. And the reason for that, it's not that they lower the standards for us, it's that they recognize the quality of education that we provide. They recognize that these are college grades that if you get that 3.71, 3.72 here at DVC, you have survived college classes, you have earned those grades in college classes. And even compared to AP classes, college classes are college classes. And they recognize that, and that's why they're willing to take these lower GPAs. They also aren't going to look at your high school GPA. And for some of you, that's a bonus. I know some of you maybe didn't do as well in high school as you had hoped. Well, DVC is a clean slate as far as your transfer is concerned. They won't be looking at your high school GPA. They'll be looking at your DVC GPA. If you are not sure what you want to major in, that's another issue. If you went straight to a four-year school, you would need to enroll with a major. And very often, students don't know what they want to major in. In fact, when I started out at DVC, I thought I was going to be a physics major. As you heard earlier, I'm a math major. I'm a math teacher now, and that does mean that I majored in math. And how did I get there? Well, one thing that we encourage here at DVC as a community college is we encourage you to explore your interest areas. And you can see here this graphic of these various interest areas. So for instance, if you were interested in math, because why would you be interested in anything else?
That's right. I concur.
Two math teachers hosting a program. Funny how that works. But if you were interested in math, you could click there and they'll take you to places, well, not here because this is a PowerPoint slide, but when you find this sort of tool, there are tools to help you see what kind of careers are available for people interested in math, what kind of classes to explore, and maybe that interest in math takes you to a physics class or an engineering class, and you find out, you know what, maybe I'm not a pure mathematician, I'd rather be an engineer. You'll be well on your road to that engineering degree as well. Also, in terms of potentially exploring what you're interested in, it's possible to actually be enrolled in high school and DVC at the same time. So if you are a senior right now, you might want to consider taking a class at DVC in the spring. That's called the concurrent enrollment, and there's a process for that. So contact a counselor, contact admissions, and find out how that process works. But if you go through that process, you could take an actual DVC class, find out how that works. It would be part of your college transcript. So you'd get some college credits already under your belt and ready to go.
And if I may add, before we talk about this slide, Glenn, I've never shared this with my colleagues, but I tell this to my students all the time. When I first started college, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And I took all the bio classes, participated in a whole bunch of student clubs that were pre-health. And after I realized I didn't want to go into that, I bounced around from different majors to different majors. And now when I think about it, if I had to pay $13,000 a year, that would have been a real expensive exploration. So being able to take these courses and to explore what you want to do is really a huge benefit when you take classes here at DVC. And once you start narrowing down that interest, one of the pilot programs that we've started here at the San Ramon campus is we've created these first-year pathway course bundles. We recognize that this whole process of transferring and having to fill out and satisfy the A through G requirements and trying to look at all the different offerings that are available to try to make a schedule fit for yourself and for your needs can really be daunting. So based on those interest areas that you saw on the prior slide, we put together different course packages that fit together scheduling wise and also give you the opportunity to explore linked areas. And so these are called first year pathway course bundles. And once we get back to face-to-face classes, definitely look out for these first year pathway course bundles because they're going to be a really great way to, one, explore those interest areas, two, get those units so you can get that free tuition, and three, really just satisfy those A through G requirements.
And one other nice thing, Ed, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is when you take a bundle like this, you're going to be in a lot of the same classes as some other students. And so it helps build that connection. I think that's one of the biggest advantages to being part of a bundle if we are still online like this, is finding a way to connect with other students when you're not meeting face-to-face, when you're not in a room together. So with that, that's the end of our little part of this presentation for now. The next phase of this program tonight involves a panel of current students and faculty from the San Ramon campus.